What is going on, you guys? My name is Nick, and welcome back to the channel, and I hope everyone had a very, very happy Thanksgiving yesterday. But today, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special just dropped, so let's talk about it. The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special follows Star-Lord, Drax, Rocket, Mantis, and Groot as they engage in some spirited shenanigans in an all-new original created for Disney+. Dude, why did that synopsis sound like it was a plug for Disney Plus and not a synopsis for something we were about to watch? That was awful. Alright, there aren't going to be any spoilers in here. There may be some characters that I talk about in regards to some of their journeys, but I'm not going to specifically spoil what those journeys are or what they could have been in the episode. But, like, for example, we all know that Kevin Bacon is in this, but if you didn't know that, then that could be considered as a spoiler. But if you watch the trailer, then you know that he was in it. So right off the bat, we established that Quill misses a lot of things from his Earth life. And yes, of course, Christmas is the big one. But I feel like that's because Christmas is the time of the year, right, that you spend your time with your family and your loved ones. And what has Peter Quill lost in literally every single movie leading up to this special? His family, his loved ones. So naturally, he's going to be a little more down and in the dumps in this episode. Now, the episode does open with like a little animated thing between Yondu and Star-Lord, and it clearly tries to set up that the reason Star-Lord does not like Christmas that much anymore is because of Yondu, but that's not really the case. I feel like it's more akin to the loss of his mother, the loss of his father, the fact that he's never really had a family outside of the chosen family in the Guardians or in the Ravengers. This loss of family, this is where Mantis comes in. And immediately as soon as we see Mantis, we get a kind of a big bombshell dropped on our heads. I'm not going to say what that is because it is a pretty big part of the episode. And I will say, we got a lot of amazing emotional moments with the character of Mantis in this 45 minute short episode. And it was really, really good stuff, not going to lie. At first, I was really worried that the humor just wasn't going to work for me. The jokes that they would crack seemed very stale. And I understand that this special is only 45 minutes long, so we have to naturally move at a quicker speed, at a quicker pace. But that doesn't mean that we gotta throw in jokes every minute, every second. And I feel like this is one of my big gripes about the MCU. It feels like everything is just a setup for a joke. Everything's a punchline. And I'm not a big fan of that. That's why Thor Love and Thunder suffered as much as it did. But I will say the Guardians have always leaned more into that comedy. So of course within this setting it's a little easier to forgive. But within like a Thor, especially with a character like a God Butcher going around cutting off the heads of gods, that tone doesn't really work in that specific aspect. And even though I did laugh at a lot of the comedy, the verbal jokes were not the funniest part of it. I feel like James Gunn specifically succeeds within R-rated content like The Suicide Squad, like Peacekeeper, at least within his verbal comedy. I feel like when he's working with the Guardians or anything that's like PG-13, a lot of his set pieces are set up to be comedic, and I feel like that works extremely well within the box that he's kind of confined to in the MCU. Because I've seen James Gunn write hilarious jokes. In Peacekeeper alone, there are over 100 jokes that I just laughed my ass off at, of just characters speaking, but when we come to the Guardians of the Galaxy, not so much. And my biggest complaint about this special is the character work, especially with Drax. He's been the same stupid idiot for over 3 movies now, and it's frustrating because in this special we get a little tiny glimpse of some humanity from him, something that he can kind of grow into and become a better person, but instead that gets squandered because it's a setup for a joke. And that's one of my biggest complaints about the MCU right now. It feels like all of these side characters, other than your mains, like your Star-Lords, your Spider-Mans, your Captain Americas, stuff like that, everyone around them kind of feels like a setup for a punchline. And that's just I hate that this is what the MCU has devolved it into. The MCU found a lot of success within Iron Man and a lot of those early movies with its comedy, and instead of kind of sprinkling it in like they did back then, they kind of just flipped it on its head and kind of made that the identity of the MCU. And that shouldn't be what it is. There is a lot of really interesting stories that we could be telling if we allowed ourselves to actually dive into the characters a little more rather than the comedy. And once again, I understand this is a 45-minute episode. You can't fucking go through The Godfather in 45 minutes, but what I'm saying is that there are pieces that we could be seeing of characters growing, and hopefully within Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy, we see some of that work being done. I already know that we're going to get some stuff with Rocket, but I hope we do get some stuff with Drax, because if this really is the final Guardians of the Galaxy film we're getting, that's a lot of shit to wrap up. So hopefully my theory is that this third volume of Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the darkest, most heaviest one yet. Of course, there's going to be comedy in it. There's always going to be comedy in it. Not only is it an MCU production, but it's a James Gunn production, and it's a Guardians of the Galaxy production. They're naturally more wacky. I apologize if you guys could have hear that text message tone my sister texted me while I was making a video. But overall, you guys, I did have a very good time with this special. I do think it's going to be a hit among families all across the world. If you have Disney Plus in your house and you have a bunch of kids and stuff, you guys are going to love the hell out of this. But for me personally, I wasn't that big on it. I was definitely entertained throughout, and I guess that's, I mean, what more could you want? But for me, I was kind of wanting a little more. Alright, you guys, I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy the Holiday Special a 3 out of 5. I don't think anything could have brought this up to a 5 out of 5. It's just that staggering runtime. It just inherently shoots itself in the foot of the content that they're allowed to do. But with that said, you guys, I think between the two specials, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Holiday Special, and Werewolf by Night, I think Werewolf by Night is my favorite special we've had so far. Granted, we've only had 2, so there's not a whole lot of data to work with here. But what do you guys think? Out of the 2 specials, if you've seen them both already, what is your favorite? Personally, I liked Werewolf by Night. I loved the stylization that Michael Giacchino was able to achieve in that film. Plus, he's a film composer. That was his directorial debut, and he fucking killed it. But that is all from me for today, you guys. I am finally going to be able to see the Knives Out sequel, Glass Onion, this Sunday, so please stay tuned for that review coming out that evening. I'm so excited to see it. I've heard nothing but hilarious, great things about it. But yeah, have you guys seen the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special? Feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. And how cool was seeing Cosmo? I'll see you guys in the next one. Please be safe, make good choices, and I'll see you then.